proceed further. So, all right. So the first concept of cryptographically secure chain. So I'll say so. All of us know, like most people who are interested in crypto, knows that Bitcoin as a first blockchain network was introduced by Satoshi Nakamoto in the year of 2008, and an year later, so he introduced a white paper in 2008, and then he introduced and implemented the entire network thing in the year of 2009, right? However, there have been concepts around the cryptography, and there have been other concept that has been there since a long time. Now, in 1991, we had the first concept of cryptographically secure chains. Now, it was basically the focus initially in the year of 1991 was to make sure that the digital transactions that are being taken place are secured in a form that it cannot be changed, and it also has an identity associated with itself, right? And then later on, when Bitcoin came and Ethereum came, then there have been some other different concepts that have been associated with the previous concept to create the new blockchain networks. In case of Bitcoin, we use POW. It is basically the consensus mechanism for the Bitcoin network. Now, this POW was already introduced in the past, right? And then there have been like other different concept of how a transaction takes place in when we deal with the cryptocurrencies. And then there are concept of concept like UTXO. We will be talking about that in the further slides. There have been some new concept that has been introduced in every blockchain that we see, um, right, starting from the Bitcoin, and it basically have been introduced for different kind of purpose. Now, as I said, the Bitcoin white paper was introduced by Satoshi Nakamoto in the 2008. The sole purpose of Bitcoin network was to trade the currency. It basically acts as a form of digital currency. There's no other purpose for the Bitcoin blockchain. And this allows people from any part of the world, all they need is internet and a digital wallet. And for the digital wallet, of course, they need an internet. They do not need any other specific thing, and they can always transact in Bitcoin without having any interruption from any central authority. How it is different from the traditional transaction. Let's say you're trying to make a transaction to a different part of the world. Let's say you want to send money to the US. You will have a lot of these institutions working as a middleman to verify and validate your transaction. In case of the Bitcoin blockchain, there's no central authority. It is very fast. If you're trying to send money to any different, like a new country, a different country, the transaction usually does not go through right away. It does take a lot of time. The Bitcoin transaction usually goes through within minutes, right? Similar is the case with the Ethereum. Now, since the Bitcoin blockchain came into the picture, there have been different kind of blockchain that came into existence. All of it had different purpose or some new or some additional advantages over the Bitcoin blockchain with same kind of purpose. But the biggest or the most important change came in the year of 2050. This is through the Ethereum blockchain, and this was actually introduced or implemented by a person named Vitalik Buterin. Um, Vitalik is basically he is a Russian who was living in Canada. He was always involved in blockchain technology. He was very fascinated by it, and he realized that there's much more we can do by using these different concepts of the blockchain technology. And then he introduced Ethereum. Now, what Ethereum has different from Bitcoin is that it allows you to write your custom logic on top of the blockchain network. It can make you, now, Bitcoin only has one purpose. You can basically trade currencies in the Bitcoin in the form of Bitcoin currency or the Bitcoin cryptocurrency. But when we talk about Ethereum, it can actually let you write your own custom logics, write your own software functions, which can then be used for your different centralized websites as well. You can use it to basically let the functions go to. Now, I'll just give you a very nice example of how this is useful, right? Now, let's say there's a website where you go ahead and you have some game. We'll take the example of game. Let's say there's a gaming website, right? And you have been playing that game for last 2 years, and all of your record and your data, which what is the points that you have earned in that game, at what time did you do it, what are the players that you have defeated, all these different kind of data is actually stored in the database of a regular, if it is a centralized blockchain, if it is a centralized, not a blockchain, if it is a centralized gaming platform, all of these data is stored on the servers of that gaming platform, right? And you have certain logic as well in that, right? Let's say that there's a box or reward, and there's a player which you see playing, and the player goes to the box or reward, he has certain new points associated with that, with the person that you have in the game. Now this logic is actually written in form of code with that company, with that gaming company. But what Ethereum brings on the table is that you can also write these kind of custom codes which allows any software to function on top of the blockchain network. Now what is the advantage of it? Now you know that these functions can also not be changed once a smart contract, and this is the smart contract is basically the logical functions that we have in any software. We know about different languages, right? We know about Java. We know how Java is used for writing the backend programs, where you, when you go on a website, you click on anything, it basically have some action. The action is basically taking place in the backend, and there's some language which has some programming functions written on it that triggers, and it basically gives you an output. So we send an input, it gives us the output. Similarly, when we write functions on a blockchain network, and these functions are again saved using the similar kind of things, the hashes and all those things, it is saved onto the blockchain. The only thing is that these functions cannot be changed later on, and it is available in the public. Now you can actually go ahead and see what function is triggered when you are, let's say it is a blockchain based game, when you click on a button, when you click on a thing or a box that you see in a game, you will see what function is being triggered, what is the amount of reward you can get from that. Everything is now available on the blockchain. The most important thing is that these functions cannot be changed in the future. There are again ways of changing this, but there is a very good way of defining who the owner of the smart contract is. That again is very much visible, whether there's just one owner of that smart contract, whether there are multiple owner of that smart contract. Now when, as a customer or as a player or anybody using a particular platform, you know these details, you can go and look it up on the internet. You actually have the complete transparency of what you're getting yourself into, right? And again, you will be able to see what functions are being triggered on the kind of input you give it to, right? We will be talking about more we will be talking more about this in the context of money. So we know that there have been different applications. We'll take the example of Paytm for that matter. Paytm is a application which has the traditional database uh, in itself, and it use the regular centralized server, or maybe it can be a distributed, but it is not a decentralized server. They for sure have multiple server. If there's a single point of failure, they can always fetch the data from different servers, but it is not really decentralized. Paytm has complete uh, authority over your data, right? However, in case of a decentralized application where everything is going to be the same, but instead of the traditional database, we will have the blockchain, and then everything on the front end and the kind of things that you do in an app or if there's a website is all going to be the same. What happens is that when you interact with these kind of websites or the apps, you will be able to see what happens in the background on the internet as well. You can see that. And more often or not, you will always know what is going to be the output of your input, because it is deterministic. So these are the advantages. Not only the transaction, Ethereum also help you write functionalities on top of it. It allows you to have decentralized application based on like, let's say there's a company which wants to introduce a software, they can do it. Let's say that there's an individual who wants to build his own local kind of network for the people that they interact with on a daily basis. You can do that as well. Ethereum just helps you make a custom software at any point of time, just by using a language known as Solidity, which is a very simple language. It is very similar to the very well-known JavaScript language.